The next two films, You Only Live Twice, Diamonds Are Forever, and For Your Eyes Only. So You Only Live Twice opens up Bond is disguised, or his death is mimicked. And they do that, M says they do it so that his old enemies aren't looking for him anymore. This is a reference to Blofeld. And he is, because he was attempted to be killed by Blofeld when he was with Tracy and they missed and hit her. And when he stands before Blofeld towards the end of this film, and Blofeld, a lot of people, they're like, Blofeld introduces himself here to him for the first time. Well, that's not true. And even if it was, my theory that I'll tell you about Blofeld will explain that away also. But he actually says this to Bond. He says, I thought you were assassinated in Hong Kong. And Bond then says, this is my second life. And Blofeld says, you only live twice, Mr. Bond. So we have this sense of, him, Blofeld, calming down because he thought Bond was dead. That in and of itself shows he knows about Bond, or knows him. But the main connector with all these really goes to Diamonds Are Forever, which is the next one, because at the end of You Only Live Twice, Bond's in Japan. And at the beginning of Diamonds Are Forever, he shows up and he's actually in Japan, and he's looking for Blofeld. So we see at the end of You Only Live Twice, Blofeld takes off and disappears, and he's in Japan. They can't find him. So Bond then is pursuing him at the beginning of Diamonds in Japan. So you can't have On Her Majesty's Secret Service be between those. On Her Majesty's Secret Service has to be somewhere else, and it fits perfectly between Thunderball and You Only Live Twice because of the beginning of You Only Live Twice, the ending of On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and the beginning of Omis. Then in Diamonds Are Forever, you have Blofeld in disguise, and Bond finally catches up with him, and he goes into the water. We don't know what happened. We don't know if he's caught, if he dies, or if he escapes, or anything like that. All we know is Bond is on a hunt to kill Blofeld, and this brings us to the final film, For Your Eyes Only, and it opens up with Bond dumping Blofeld down an industrial smokestack, and that Blofeld is made to look like the Blofeld in Omis, with the bald head and the neck brace. Not only that is the connection, the Bond connection with Lazenby, and more is that at the beginning of the For Your Eyes Only, more goes to Tracy's grave. And then we have the same Blofeld who, drove by and killed Tracy in that opening scene. Now, For Your Eyes Only is a transition film. And what I mean by that is it is transitioning from the Blofeld Spectre era into the Russian era, the Cold War era, the late Cold War era. So that's when Gogol appears, and then all the rest of the films are Gogol films, or at least not all of them, but a good amount of them consider that film a transition film between the two eras, Spectre era and Russian era. And some continuity with For Your Eyes Only is, like I said, Tracy's grave, but also is the car, the Lotus, and then General Gogol. He's in there. He doesn't have a huge role, and that's another reason why I like that there. And I also like that there because M is not there. The M from the Bernard Lee M isn't there. He's said to be on leave, so there's no M, and it's a good transition from Bernard Lee M to the Robert Brown M, even though if you've watched my video that I think they're the same, and I explain that. And going back to On Her Majesty's Secret Service, the connector with that he's connected, he's also Sean Connery. So also, and because they show the films, the items from the films Dr. No, From Russia with Love, and Thunderball, and mention Goldfinger in the film. And interestingly enough, Goldfinger actually in its pre-credits sequence shows scenes from Dr. No and From Russia with Love. So in the whole lineup, we have Dr. No and From Russia with Love before Goldfinger, because Goldfinger shows them in the opening sequence. Then we have Goldfinger. Then we have Thunderball. Then we have On Her Majesty's Secret Service, because it shows all four of those films in its opening credit sequence, and then it references those four films in its during the film, but it doesn't reference You Only Live Twice in the film, except in the opening credits. But the reversing clock tells us they're going back in time with Omis. Then we have Diamonds, the close of You Only Live Twice in Japan, and Diamonds opening up in Japan with a hunt for Blofeld. And then at the end of Diamonds, Blofeld is missing. And then at the beginning of For Your Eyes Only, we have Bond executing Blofeld. So those are all the connections for that.
We have some, there's also a few other continuity connectors in On Her Majesty's Secret Service, OMIS. The Bond family crest, the motto is "The world is not enough," which is spoken of by Brosnan in the movie of the same title. To Elektra, he says it's his family motto, so that connects Lazenby to Brosnan. Then you have Dalton talking about, or Leiter telling Della that Bond was married once before. Moore also is confronted about his previous marriage by Anya Masova. So you have Lazenby connected to all those Bonds. Now, also in The World Is Not Enough, there's a documentary in the Blu-ray disc, in the special features, I believe it is, and it's called Bond Cocktail, and in it Q, Desmond Llewellyn says Bond and Q have had a relationship that has lasted for many years. So we see that those Bonds, that they're all the same. But also there is another continuity quote. There are three more continuity quotes, and two of them are in the documentary for Your Eyes Only, and the first one is from the narrator, and he says, with casting complete, filmmakers begin layering the script with links to James Bond's past, including James Bond's brief marriage. And that is in reference to the tombstone with Tracy. Then Michael Wilson says in the same documentary, it was John Glenn who came up with the idea of going to Tracy's grave. I think he wanted to show a continuity of the Bond stories and show that he's still the same character. He's still going on. He has a history. So you have Michael Wilson saying right there, James Bond is the same character throughout all these films. He literally just said that. And then the final one is from the commentary of For Your Eyes Only, and it's John Glenn, the director for Your Eyes Only. He says, and I quote, "We were looking for something a little different, and we wanted to bring Blofeld on the reference to Blofeld back into the Bond stories to give them a little more continuity," end quote. So we have these guys all quoting that Bond is the same Bond throughout all the films.